Welcome to the Rinkside Rundown podcast, your ultimate destination for all things women's hockey with your host, Chris Sinclair. Hello and welcome back to the Rinkside Rundown podcast. Today I'm joined by Emma Buckles, a Harvard University graduate and current defender with PWHL Ottawa. Emma, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
This is fantastic. I cannot wait to get into this. So let's dive right in. Let's look all the way back to where it began. What was it about hockey that kind of drew you and attracted you to the sport?
Yeah, I had two older brothers, and I just loved everything that they were doing when I was younger. And one thing that they were both really into was hockey. And so I think from as early as I can remember, I was hanging around the rinks, and as soon as I could walk, I wanted to get out there and skate with them. So really grateful that they drew me to hockey and in this amazing sport.
So what was it about seeing them play that really it was yeah, that's what I really want to do? What was it specifically about that?
There was something about it. I just remember the first time getting out there on skates and just gliding around, and just the freedom and the excitement I got from shooting. And I mean, it wasn't much of a shot at first, just pushing the puck around. But I just had such a blast and being out there with my brothers. It was something that I fell in love with the first time I stepped out there.
So, obviously your brothers being a big impact on you getting into the sport, what has it meant to have, I'm sure that it also extends to the rest of your family. So let's more broaden it to your entire family. What has it meant to have that support from your entire family throughout your entire career, especially up until recently? You didn't know, the PWHL wasn't a thing up until recently, right? So you didn't necessarily know what would be the next step for you beyond your collegiate career, maybe European or something like that. But what has it meant to have that support from your family this entire time?
It means everything, from the early morning practices to getting changed in a janitor's closet and having them there throughout all the steps. I couldn't be here now without them. And so I'm really appreciative. And my older brother was such a big part of that. My brother, Matt, he played at Cornell and then was drafted to the NHL. And I just looked up to him so many different ways. And so always picking his brain and shooting pucks with him in the driveway whenever I could. So I wouldn't be here without them.
Could you talk a little bit more? Obviously, Matt had the big, it sounds like, everyone had an impact in their own ways, but Matt had arguably the biggest impact on you. Could you tell me a little bit more about what it was about Matt and his game and his approach to the game that really, really inspired you?
Absolutely. I think it was his passion for the game so early on. I just remember he'd spend hours just shooting pucks and watching games and, playing Xbox and NHL. And I would just sit in the basement with him while he did all of it. And just seeing his passion from such an early age and how much dedication he put into it, it just inspired me to do the same. And so just very grateful to have a role model like him and somebody to do it alongside. We were shooting pucks and would have targets and all that type of stuff. Sometimes I was the target. I was the goalie in the net, so didn't really appreciate that as much, but I'm a good shot blocker nowadays because of it. So
well, I was going to ask, is there and this goes for both of your brothers, but were there rivalries going on there, especially when it comes to hockey? Was it every time you got on the ice, it was pretty intense, or was it a pretty calm, sibling scenario?
Yeah, no, honestly, there was always competition, a classic brother sister dynamic. I think something about being the younger sister, they took me under their wing as well. I think initially I was a good target shooter for them, but then once I started to get out there more and once they started to realize how much passion I had for the game as well. They took me under their wing and would give me tips and tricks and try to make me a better person and player. So yeah, grateful for them.
And you kind of had touched on it, but you had tried, or I would say tried. You were maybe pushed into being or a goalie, rather reluctantly, which is fair. You are a defender. What went into the decision to play that position? And have you? I mean, goalie is probably sounds like it might be out of the question, but have you ever thought about, or had you ever thought about being a forward?
Funny enough, yeah, I remember. I think I remember asking my dad when I was really little that I want to be a goalie, and they're like, "Okay, like you can give it a whirl." But ultimately, I love the freedom of getting out there and skating all around. And both my brothers were forwards, and so now that I think about it, maybe naturally that was the one position in the little 3-on-3s that needed to be filled. And I don't know, I just loved the defense element. I liked how you can kind of play both positions theoretically, when you're a lockdown defender, but then you can get up in the rush, kind of a quarterback element. So yeah, I really, I think I tried out the goalie thing. That didn't last long, and then forward for a little bit, but not much. I really loved D right away. So
Okay, before we get into your style of play as a defender, how would you rate your play as a goalie and as a forward?
oh man, goalie. I don't know. I'm gonna have to leave that up to Mash, Rach, and Sandy. I'll let them evaluate my butterfly. I think it could be pretty good. I would need a few sessions to definitely catch up. But yeah, I think at forward, I think I don't know. I think I actually, when thinking about it, I think I would just be more of a reserved, maybe just like grinder forward. So I don't know if it'd be much of an excitement, flashy type style goal scoring mentality, but I would sure have a lot of fun up there.
I can confidently say that there would be quite a stir if all of a sudden at practice you showed up in your goalie gear and just took some, just like, even if it was like two or three drills and you were just crushing it in the butterfly. So I would love to see that. I don't know about
Yeah.
you.
To be honest, like I think it's something that I think I can fill in as that fourth goalie. It We'll see, we'll see. Hopefully, it's something in the near future.
Okay, let's talk to the team about that because that would be great to see. Now, how would for especially for Ottawa fans, we've had a chance to be able to see you in a few games now. But you were, and we'll get into this in a bit, but you were originally drafted by Boston. How would for the Ottawa fans, how would you describe your style of play as a defender?
Yeah. I'm a big lockdown defender. Quick to pins, aggressive, blocking shots. I love to make it hard on the forwards in front of the net. Yeah, make their life not so fun when they're there in the crease. And really prioritizing that first pass, clean breakouts. Doing a lot of the things that you don't necessarily, it's not anything flashy, but something that is extremely valued within the team. Just simple plays. Yeah, get some good closeouts. And yeah, want to get the opportunity, get some good shots through as well, and have a pretty good slap shot.
And you've been doing a great job thus far. Tons of fans are talking about you. So what you're doing, it's working well. So let's go back to your early career. You're from Toronto, and you had the opportunity to start your career in Toronto with the Toronto Arrows, which included being named team captain in your final season, which you also won provincial gold in. So, first of all, congratulations with that. Obviously, that's incredible.
Thank you.
What was it like to be able to start your career or kickstart your career, if you will, in front of friends and family?
It was awesome. Toronto's such a great hockey hub. And so just the sheer competition and support was unmatched in the Toronto area. Yeah, a lot of my teammates, even now on Ottawa, I played with or against. And yeah, no, it was awesome. Toronto was a great place to develop as a person and as a player. And yeah, I would definitely wouldn't change it for the world.
Let's talk a little bit about what it's like to play with and against some of those, those former teammates or other players that played in that same league. What's it like to be a part of that now?
Absolutely. No, it's unique. I mean, it's there's some girls that, I'm a lot happier to be on their team versus having to deal with them on the other side just because they're such good players. So yeah, it's a really unique situation. There's it's such a small world, the hockey world, and we play against each other, whether it's in camps, whether it's high school teams growing up, and now to kind of have those paths cross. It's pretty cool to get to know them off the ice as well, and everybody's so awesome.
And as I had mentioned, you were named team captain in your final season. What did it mean to you to be named team captain?
Yeah, I mean, it's always such an honor, especially for the group. There were so many incredible leaders part of that group, and so yeah, I mean, I was just honored to be able to obviously physically wear that, but everybody kind of metaphorically wore it. It was an easy job to do with such amazing players and people. So, yeah,
I it's always interesting because from the outside, I've never very poorly played hockey myself. But from the outside, I feel like it would be, I feel like I would want to be able to celebrate the way that I played, the way that I led the team. But what every time I have these kinds of conversations, what's really humbling to me is that it's never about you as an individual. It's, as you said, you had a number of players on that team, a number of teammates who could have easily worn that letter, maybe should have worn that letter, but did so whether they wore that letter or not. It was a full team effort. Like, what is it? What does it mean to look back at that time and say, like, it was never about me? It was always about the team, and I just was lucky enough to have been selected to wear the letter, but it didn't change who I was.
absolutely. I think even thinking back to when I was a little kid and choosing sports, something that drew me to hockey was that team element. There's something so empowering and exciting to go towards a goal with a group of people that you care so much about and have the exact same like passionate hopes and dreams. So yeah, like I've always that's what was a part of the selling point of the hockey. Becoming the hockey player I am was being a part of a team and being a part of a group bigger than myself. And yeah, like the letters and all that. That's obviously something that has to take place for rules and all that type of stuff. But in so many different ways, like everybody wore that letter in so many different rules. Great teams are made out of many different incredible players filling different roles, whether it's extremely seen in its goal scoring or whether it's the glue man in the locker room. So, yeah, it's pretty awesome. I've learned a lot of incredible things being a part of teams and going through difficult times and hard fought wins and losses. And yeah, I've learned a lot as a person. And yeah, hockey's a very unique sport in that way. And I'm very grateful to be a part of a team.
And now, a word from our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Durant Barristers. Durant Barristers is a proud supporter of women's sports and is an inaugural sponsor of the Rinkside Rundown podcast. Durant Barristers provides legal services for athletes, coaches, officials, administrators, and sports associations of all sizes, from minor associations to national sports organizations and professional sports environments. We routinely assist with safe sport complaints, investigations, anti-doping, harassment, discrimination, abuse, and governance matters. We also provide representation on general civil litigation matters, including employment and business disputes of all sizes. Durant Barristers founder Aaron Durant also provides mediation and arbitration services to assist in managing disputes in a timely and affordable manner. Durant Barristers has generously offered their best ever discount to fans and supporters of women's hockey. Mention the Rinkside Rundown podcast to, wait for it, receive 15% off all your accounts with Durant Barristers for the duration of your relationship with the firm. To learn more about Durant Barristers, visit www.durantbarristers.com. That's www.durantbarristers.com. Thank you to Durant Barristers for sponsoring this episode.
And now, back to the show.
Let's talk a little bit. I feel like this has now somehow become a pseudo therapy session here, but
It's intense.
yeah, this is free, by the way. So I want to know a little bit more about, like, so you're talking about, these leadership qualities, the sort of, how being a leader or being one of the leaders on a team has really helped to shape you as an individual. But could you talk a little bit more about what it meant for you personally, like you off the ice? How did you take a lot of those things that you learned as a leader and as a part of hockey just in general, but like have applied them to your personal life and how you interact and how you support your friends and interact with people?
Absolutely. This would be a 3-hour podcast if I went into no, even longer, of the details that I've learned being in a team environment, and from the people, from the coaches, from the staff, from the players. Yeah, it's made me the person I am. And yeah, I think the biggest thing is just with that leadership quality was leading by example. One was something that I really learned to value. Some of the best leaders that I looked up to, weren't necessarily the loudest people in the locker room, even though I can be pretty chatty. That they just, everything they embodied, both off the ice and on the ice, they had their heart on their sleeves. Just down to earth people, and yeah, work their tails off every day. So that was a big thing, as well as, yeah, just getting to know people off the ice, just like the personal element as well. Like there's something to be said with getting to know the people that you're working towards this goal with. It's such a big element, and I think sometimes overlooked at the younger ages, and something that I've learned the older that I've gotten that you value so much more. Yeah, just keeping that personable element alive in the team environment, and yeah, being able to work 110% at all given opportunities, and yeah, just lead by example. I think that's a big thing.
Great answer. And in putting a bow on your earlier career, how would you say, and you've kind of alluded to it, and you've kind of said a few really great points thus far, but how would you say being a leader in your early career has helped you during your collegiate career, PWHPA, and now with the PWHL?
Yeah, I think I would attribute all of that to the incredible coaches that I learned from early on. They taught me so many invaluable things, whether it was, the small details on and off the ice, yeah, like obviously at the college level, being able to balance academics, social life, and athletics. Yeah, I was so grateful and lucky to be surrounded around such incredible mentors. And because of them, yeah, it was able to shape me into kind of the player and the mentality I've taken towards athletics in my life and my social life and personal life as well. So,
all right. Well, now as we continue your career arc, You actually had the opportunity to represent Canada internationally in 2017 when you won silver at the U18 Women's Worlds. Along with that, and this is one of the one of the parts of the show that I really enjoy because I get to celebrate the career that you've had. Along with that silver medal, you also won gold with Team Ontario Red in 2016. What was it like to be able to represent your country internationally?
Yeah, it's such an honor. It like I get chills thinking about it. I just remember tossing on that jersey for the first time and looking down at the logo, the Hockey Canada logo, and it just it leaves you speechless. You know, representing something greater than yourself and in your country and a country that you love so much and care for. Yeah, and with hockey obviously being such a big sport here in Canada and with so many great athletes here. Yeah, it was amazing to do and something that I'll always remember.
Well, let's reflect on that time because now I want to ask more specifically, what were some of your favorite memories of being able to represent your country, both on the ice, which I feel like I could probably guess, but also equally as important as your time off the ice?
Yeah, there's so many good memories. Yeah, obviously that world championship sticks out to me going over to Zlin, Czech Republic. Yeah, I think we are 17 at the time and going over to a new place with a bunch of the girls was really exciting and cool. And up to that point in my career, obviously the biggest stage was provincials and Team Ontario and all that. And so to be able to face the world talent and to play incredible players from the U.S., Sweden, all over, it was so cool. And yeah, like when I think back to that team, it's pretty funny now. It was Belzy, Daryl, Vayette. A lot of those girls are now here in PWHL Ottawa too, and so yeah, a lot of those girls that I first played in that tournament as well are in the league as well. So it was cool. It's cool. That was my first introduction to the world stage and kind of just the amount of talent that is worldwide with women's hockey. And now here we are, kind of meeting once again, all of us. So it's awesome.
And I would like to point out like how much you light up talking about your experiences internationally. And I would argue, obviously, like winning a medal is great, but you actually lit up more talking about your teammates. So what is it like? What does it mean to have been able to do that? And we could talk about the on ice stuff. That's fine, but let's talk about the off ice stuff, where it's like, what does it mean to you to be able to have gone through that experience with these incredible teammates? And now, as you mentioned, also now it's come full circle, right? Like you're
Right.
playing alongside some of those same players. What does that
Right.
mean to you?
It's so cool. I feel like if I went back in time and told my like 17-year-old self, I'd be like, that's crazy. Yeah, like we were just like looking back now, we were just like babies. So it's funny to have known everybody that early on and see how much we've grown over college in the last few years and the people and players we are now. Yeah, it's so cool and everyone's such good people and yeah, I'm grateful to have them back in my everyday life and be back on the ice with them. So
And I can tell by the giant smile on your face. So that's fantastic. Now, as we continue in your journey, I want to talk a little bit about something I found out in regards to your high school days. Um, it, I, Based off of what I was able to find, you were
oh,
actually, yeah, I know. So first of all, you were on honor roll every year in high school, which is absolutely incredible, especially as someone who dropped out of university. I would say that's amazing. And we're going to get to that in just one moment. But what was it like for you to be able to balance a good education with continuing your hockey career? And we're going to get into more stuff throughout your high school and collegiate days in just a moment. But what was it like, like you were crushing it. You were on an honor roll, but you were like, oh yeah, I'm also kind of like I'm playing hockey at like I don't know, like a pretty good level right now, right? Like how was that?
Honestly, I attribute all of that to my support group. My both my friends and family, obviously, where I went to school, there was a lot of support there as well. And yeah, luckily I had all the tools to tap into, whether I needed extra help with homework or all that. And also was able to balance the two with ice and getting rides to ice right after school and all that. So yeah, I think it was instilled in me at a very young age that, hockey is extremely important, but also my education was as well. And so with that, I made sure I brought that tenacity on the ice also into the classroom.
Speaking of that, you played in a symphonic band and were the founder of the Healthy Active Living Club at
Wow.
Habergale.
Yeah.
How in the world? First of all, what is all of that? And then
Yeah.
secondly, how in the world did you find time to like also take on other projects outside of, all the other things you were doing?
Yeah, actually, music is like, listening and playing music. I absolutely love it. It was one of my bigger hobbies in high school. Having classes where I didn't have to carve out extra time after school to do it, and so I definitely miss that element. But I play a couple of instruments, still do, and really enjoy that. So yeah, that's a fun little fact about me. And the Healthy Active Living Club, I actually made that with one of my best friends, Sid Wilson, who was a two-time national champ with the Stanford women's volleyball team. And we would be laughing that this has been brought up so many times because it has for both of us. At first, it was a means to get a classroom to make smoothies with our friends, but it turned into something bigger, and I'm really grateful for that because, yeah, I mean, it was a space for us to kind of share what we were learning at an early age with our friends and younger girls at the school. But yeah, we also got to make some really good smoothies in that classroom at lunch. So yeah, all around, I had a lot of fun during my like elementary school days and miss it. But yeah, it was a good time.
Okay, so you dropped a little nugget there that you still play some instruments. We have
Yeah.
to dive into what are first of all, what are the instruments you still play, and can you rank how much you enjoy playing them?
Oh man. So alto saxophone is was my top instrument back in the day. I would still have to say like I love jazz music. Playing it specifically, I don't really listen to jazz just in the car or anything, but I think that would have to be number one. Play guitar. Um, Learned that a lot over COVID as well. That was always something that I wanted to do. That would probably be number two. Number three would be piano. I always did piano lessons growing up. That one I wasn't so particularly excited about. I wasn't really into classical music. I don't know if any first grader is. So, playing Beethoven and all that wasn't something that I got particularly excited about. But the older I got and realized that, it's not just classical music, the different music and songs that I got to learn was a lot of fun. So, piano would have to be number three. Um, I don't think we're gonna count recorder or ukulele, but those were fun. Those were learned in
Wait,
school.
why would well, I mean, recorder I get. I feel like recorder is like a default instrument that everyone learns, but why not ukulele?
Yeah,
That's a good
ukulele,
one.
nothing crazy. I know a couple of chords. Yeah, I think that was just something that was something fun that me and my friends did, and then eventually one day I got it as a birthday present, and that was fun. I haven't touched that in a while though, but would love to get back to it. And I think those are the active ones. I remember I tried to give trumpet a whirl. That wasn't really a good fit. But yeah, like my brothers played, like my one brother played alto sax, my other brother played clarinet. And so there was always music instruments around the household. And yeah, I don't know. It was just a cool release for me post hockey and in school to just kind of use my mind in a different way. So
Yeah, it's nice to not always have to be physical and like be,
mhm.
up and moving around and stuff like that. You can just kind of be in that moment. So I'm assuming that might have been at least part of the draw to something as it can be as relaxing as playing music.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So your hockey career, we've talked, discussed a little bit about your early days with the Toronto Arrows. We talked about your play internationally. Now let's talk about how your hockey career continued now into the U.S. with Harvard University, as I'd mentioned off the top. First of all, could you talk about what went into your decision to choose Harvard as your next step in your career?
Yeah, no, I think thinking back to that whole recruiting process, it was really exciting. But yeah, it's a really big decision to make at a really young age. And I think when thinking back to that time, the two big things for me were, continuing to be a really good hockey player and pushing myself on the ice, as well as pushing myself in the classroom. And so I wanted to find a place that really struck that balance well. And so yeah, the schools I kind of narrowed down into all had that. And then in the end, I don't know, it was a really like a gut feeling for me that going on campus, meeting the coaches, and kind of getting that feel that this was the place for me. And yeah, I'm grateful I chose it.
And we will be right back.
This episode is sponsored by sports nutritionist Melissa Buffunos of MB Performance Nutrition. As a former competitive hockey player turned nutritionist, Melissa's mission is to help the next generation of hockey players optimize their health and diets so they can perform their best on and off the ice. Ready to dominate on the ice? Melissa's new course, The Hockey Nutrition Blueprint, is opening soon. If you're serious about learning how nutrition can impact performance and building actionable nutrition strategies based on your unique needs as an elite hockey player, get on the waitlist today. Learn more and sign up at melissabuffunos.com/course. That's MELISSABOUFOUNOS.com/course. Thank you to Melissa Buffunos for sponsoring this episode.
And now, back to the show.
I'm always interested to find out, especially as a Canadian, like what went into your decision to choose, going south of the border as opposed to what is now U Sports.
Yeah, I think for me it was once again, it's funny, these things keep coming up, but I followed a lot of what my brothers did, and watched a lot of my brother playing in the ECAC at Cornell. And so going down to his games in Ithaca and just seeing the rowdy environment and hearing him about his classes and all that, it just kind of, it gave me a different outlook and something that I didn't really see up in Canada before, and drew me to the ECAC. So I definitely would attribute that lens to him, and kind of, at first wasn't sure. I thought I was going to go to Cornell, and then switched up. So, yeah.
What was it like? Because this was the first time you were playing hockey away from home.
Mm-hmm.
What was that experience like to be able to play hockey at the level that you were playing it, but playing it so much further away from home?
It took a lot of figuring out. I definitely needed to figure out how to do laundry and all that type of stuff, all that fun stuff. We take
adulting. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, adulting. Yeah, that was my whole freshman year. If you talk to anybody about my freshman year, it was. I think everybody's is always a whirlwind, but it was definitely a challenge, and it was a challenge I was ready for, but something that took time to figure out. Striking that balance between, like I said, the social, athletic, and academic schedule. And so, it took time. It was definitely like a teeter-totter for most of that year, but was able to figure it out for my next 3 years. And absolutely loved my time there.
How do you think that time impacted you we'll start off with you as an individual, but as well as you as a hockey player playing, in, the US, playing for Harvard, playing away from home, all those sorts of things. How did that impact you both as an individual yourself as Emma Buckles, but also as Emma Buckles, the hockey player?
Yeah, no, I think well, to start with the hockey player element, there were so many incredible players there, and the coaching staff was awesome. So, in a lot of ways, there was a lot of learning and a lot of looking up to some of our older players and other girls in the league as well. That it pushed me to that next level. Everyone was stronger, everyone was faster, and it was something that I was excited to kind of meet that challenge. So for hockey, I'm grateful. I grew a lot as a player there. And then off the ice as well, obviously, was surrounded around some pretty cool people, both on our team as well as outside. A lot of cool professors that, I had the pleasure of taking their classes and whatnot. And so, in a lot of ways, yeah, like the way that I think, that I kind of see the world was changed a lot in those 4 years. And yeah, I'm grateful for the new perspectives and kind of a lot of takeaways that have changed me as a person.
I want to know, um, like, what were some of your favorite memories? Let's go down memory lane here with Emma Buckles right now.
Okay.
What were some of your favorite memories during your time at Harvard? And that's obviously on the ice. I feel like that is pretty obvious, but I also want to hear about off the ice. What are some of your favorite memories of your time there?
Yeah. There, don't even know where to start. Harvard's a pretty unique place. And so, yeah, there's a lot of cool traditions there, like housing day and stuff like that, where it's like Harry Potter, where you get placed into a house. You wake up at like 6:30 in the morning, and everybody like storms the yard. And yeah, there's a lot of like cool traditions that take place there that were so unique and made such a fun college career for myself. So yeah, things like housing day, just like I just remember like a lot of big games like ECAC championships come to mind. Remember we went into triple overtime against Yale, and yeah, Becca Gilmore, actually another one of my teammates here at PWHL Ottawa, scored that game winner. Yeah, there's so many unique things. Trying to think of specific memories though. But yeah, those are the ones that come to mind.
Yeah, and this is interesting because as soon as you started reflecting on your time at Harvard, just like before, you lit up, like you had a smile on your face. So obviously, your time at Harvard was such an impactful, such a great experience for you. And it's being able to see that without intention, like without you saying, "Yeah, it was good for me," which it obviously was, but
Yeah,
with just being able to see the impact that it had on you,
yeah,
I think that speaks volumes to your time there.
absolutely. Yeah, it's a very unique place. Just yeah, obviously, uh, lots of years and traditions have been taken place there, and to be a small part of that greater novel of Harvard University was pretty cool.
So incredible to hear. Um, following your time, we're going sequentially here. So
Yeah.
following your time with Harvard, which was an incredible career there, you played in the PWHPA with Team Sonnet.
Yeah.
What was that experience like for you? And as with every step of your career, what were some of the things that you learned during your time there?
Team Sonnet, I would definitely say one of the best teams to grace the game. We had a tough run a little bit, but we had so much fun. Now, I just remember, you know, I'm so grateful that I was part of that group, just because there's so many amazing leaders on that team. We had Brianne Jenner, and I remember rooming with her for the first time on the road, and just the wisdom and the knowledge that she had just to pick her brain. She's just one of the coolest people I've ever met. So with that being said, just there were so many incredible players, so many good friends of mine like Hannah Brandt, that kind of came from that experience. And yeah, we didn't win a ton on the ice, but we won a lot off the ice and laughs. So yeah, it was a great experience, and really, really cool to be kind of part of that secret dream gap tour, and travel around.
All right, I have to do it. I have to do it. I want to know, what were some of those, you said there were a ton of laughs off the ice. Let's talk about off the ice. We don't have to talk about the on ice stuff. Let's take a moment to reflect on the
Let's
off
do
ice
it.
stuff. Yeah,
Let's do
absolutely.
it.
I want to hear all about the off ice stuff. What were some of those things that just made that team, and your connection with that team just so meaningful to you?
Yeah, no, I think there's it was just a team that was full of incredible players, but like also such characters off the ice. So there was never a dull moment in the locker room with Abby Rock. And yeah, like I just remember just there was always something going on. And yeah, Hannah Brandt was always up to no good too, pranking people and all that. But yeah, no, the girls, we really had a fun time. I even remember we would have like team dress codes to the game, so we wore beach attire down in Tampa. So I remember, yeah, there was a bunch of us in like Hawaiian shirts and stuff. There's team photo. We even dressed up in all black for our game against Team Harvey's. I think that was the championship weekend in LA/Anaheim. And yeah, we were joking around that we were dressing up for Team Harvey's funeral, but it was actually our own. So lots of good memories that like those have come back up in the Snapchat memories, and still so many good laughs because of that time. And yeah, no, it was great. We joke around that one of the greatest teams of all time to grace the sport. But yeah, sadly the chips didn't fall in our favor in the win category. But yeah, no, it was a great experience, and I couldn't imagine my first year pro any other way. So
Yeah, and I think it's great to, obviously, like, the results, the numbers, individual results, team results, that's all really, really important, obviously. But it's also, for me, like, this is like, I love hearing these stories of like being dressed up in beachwear for a
yeah,
game. That's those are the things that you can't find just by looking on, whatever website, right? Like,
yeah.
these are the great stories. Could you tell? I'm assuming the beach wear was because you were obviously in California.
Honestly, I'm trying to. I think this was Tampa. This is when we were in Tampa.
Oh, sorry.
No, no, no. Why? No idea. Like I think it was because of that. I just remember all of us hanging by the pool. I think it was pre-packed too, so it was just something that we planned out beforehand. But yeah, no, pretty awesome. Like there was always something that we did to bring the group together, and obviously we didn't get to practice off the ice together a ton. So when we got together, we made the best out of that time, and yeah, we had a lot of fun.
I feel like, just based off of your personality, you would be easily one of the people who would be kind of leading the charge in terms of determining what the attire was for a specific game. Is that fair to assume?
Actually, with my first year pro, I was pretty, you know, pretty lax. I was trying to see, what the vibe was, looking up to a lot of our leaders and a lot of the older girls in the room. So I think more so this year, it's been that way. But last year, I was more so in the back seat. But yeah, I mean, I've been given that confidence and that edge now because of all those leaders. So.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
I would like to take a moment to talk about our sponsor, DraftKings Sportsbook. Bet the action on the ice with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use code THPN. New customers can get $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on hockey. That's code THPN, only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The crown is yours. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. Please play responsibly. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2023, all rights reserved.
And now, back to the show.
All right, let's talk about where you're at right now. So before we get into, all of that, I think it's important. And I know for some people, this may seem like there are a number of people out there who may feel like this is a cliched question, but I think it's a very, very important question to ask.
Right.
But with the PWHL, obviously things came together really quickly. But it's been such a success. And I want to know, for you as Emma Buckles, what is this moment for you as an individual, but you as an athlete? What does this moment mean to you?
It's everything. I've been asked this question, and I can't help but think about younger me. I think younger me would be like, it finally happened. Like it's taking place, and you're a part of it. And I get chills thinking about it. There were so many fearless women that obviously forged this path for us, and I'm just one of the lucky ones that is still in their career and healthy to be in this league. And so it means everything, knowing that there's younger girls now, like I was before, that have this to look towards, to watch us on TV, to have this visibility. Like when I was younger, like I'm sure you've heard from all the girls, but it's always, I want to be in the NHL because that's what we got to see, and that's what we had to look to. There wasn't a league like this, and to know that there's this opportunity and that we have the platform now for all these younger girls to watch us, and for them to maybe be inspired to play hockey themselves and pick up a stick. It's awesome.
Well, you couldn't have provided me a better segue into my next question, so I appreciate that. There has been so much, as we've mentioned, there's been so much buzz, so much excitement around this league, and you see that every game. Wherever you are, you see that in every game. Incredible signs, incredibly enthusiastic fans, and a really, really solid product on the ice. And you are now... this is the first year that this league has been in existence. And so therefore you are now one of those role models for the next generation. And that, I think it's important also to establish here, yes, absolutely for women, but also young boys. Let's talk broadly as well. But specifically in this case, obviously with young girls, what does it mean for you to be a role model?
It's amazing. It's so cool. I just think about all the women and obviously boys and men I've looked up to as well, and to obviously be in that position now, it's a great honor and responsibility as well. I'm excited to obviously be able to use that opportunity to support a lot of change and inspired a lot of younger girls and boys to be a part of a movement greater than themselves.
Ooh, good answer. I like that. That's profound. You were speaking of the PWHL, so you were drafted originally 75th overall by Boston.
Yes.
What was it like for you to go through your very first draft?
It was so cool. I remember I was there that day and I was so nervous. You look back and I wish I could have just been a little bit more relaxed and really taken it in and enjoyed it. But I did as much as I could and have my family alongside with me and a lot of my friends that I saw afterwards. And it was crazy to walk down that carpet and to see a lot of younger girls standing there. It was almost like going through like a time where both like seeing where I used to be, like I would have been in that lineup looking for an autograph, to now being on this carpet and going up metaphorically on that stage afterwards, into kind of this next chapter for women's sport and hockey. So yeah, it was so well done. It just, yeah, it was so cool to see, my friends go up there and to celebrate them, who they are as people and players. It was just an incredible day, as a whole, and to be a part of that.
And I would be remiss to not ask the impact that it also had for you to be able to be drafted in your hometown.
Yeah, yeah, no, that was so cool. Because my family was there. Yeah, my friends were there afterwards. And yeah, it was such a unique experience. Something that I really hoped to be a part of one day, but never really knew if that was going to be the case. And so it kind of felt surreal in a lot of ways. Yeah, it kind of like every so often being like, God, pinch myself, like this is actually happening. And yeah, it was really cool that it took place in Toronto as well, kind of where it all started for me. So
Well, and now where we're at this point is you're with Ottawa. You signed
Mhm.
with Ottawa, and so I kind of want to know, what was the shift like for you to have gone from Boston and now with Ottawa, and what are your impressions of Ottawa? And again, both on and off the ice, because I think that those pieces are equally as important.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a really exciting time. A lot of moving parts, moving my life from Boston to here. But being back in my home country, being back in Canada, not too far from home as well, was pretty nice. And as soon as I stepped foot in this locker room, everyone was so welcoming and kind. And yeah, there's something so special about this group. And kind of like I said before, kind of being something bigger than yourself. As soon as I stepped in there with the leaders and the culture they had, I knew that I was a part of something super special and greater than myself. And I was just really happy to be a part of it.
And what would you say, like your impressions of Ottawa off the ice, with both, the teammate aspect of things, like the culture that you have with one another? As you've mentioned, you've played with some of these players previously, so that must have been nice. But what else was it? What else are some of the things that you've really enjoyed about now being a part of Ottawa, but off the ice?
Off the ice. It's a good question. I mean, love Ottawa as a city. It's been really cool to discover the city more. The girls have been showing me around a lot of good food spots. Um, can't can't not mention the fans. The fans are incredible. Such a highlight about our team. And yeah, truly, they're super incredible. We're so grateful to have them. So showing up to TD and coming to games and whatnot and having that support behind us, it's absolutely electric. So that's been really awesome. But yeah, like there's so many elements off the ice, and obviously, like I mentioned, the culture of this group. And so yeah, just so many great things that make this team amazing.
Well, and you kind of alluded to it with the fans. The fans will be welcome back soon with the international break coming to an end. Um, what are some of the things that you're expecting from Ottawa as you enter, both yourself and as a team, as you enter the final stretch of the season before the playoffs?
Yeah, absolutely. Just sticking to our game plan. Continuing to execute the things that work well for us. Keeping things simple and recognizing obviously there's an urgency here at the end of the season, but we don't have to do anything crazy. We just have to continue to play as a group and do the small things right, and the results will show.
All right. Well, and speaking of this international break, you've had a chance, during the international break with practices being a little bit more focused around skills,
Mhm.
both skating, shooting, hitting, taking a hit, all those sorts of things. What's it been like for you to go through that? And what are some of those takeaways that you've had during this experience, being able to, focus on like maybe some of the finer details of your game?
Yeah, it's a super unique situation, to have a 3 week break in the middle of the season. Um, Not many of us have dealt with this before, but in a lot of ways, there's a lot of positives that come with it. Like you're saying, there's a lot of things where you're able to slow things down and work on things that you've been meaning to try out in games, or something that you want to touch up on that you know normally it's we only have a couple practices and it's the next game. So to just be able to get those reps in and try out a lot of new things, and as well as learn a couple of things when it comes to the absorbing hits, all that type of stuff. It's been awesome, and we've been using this time to get better as players, and it's been a really good experience.
One of the things that I've noticed specifically about you, amongst other things like your style of play on the ice, has been just how much you bring enthusiasm and humor. Obviously to your game in general, but specifically, I've seen it in because I've been more closely involved in the practices, with being DJ and all those sorts of things. Has that always, like, his humor and your sense of humor, has that always been something, an aspect of your game that you've kind of maybe felt more now that you're at where you're at in your career? You're much more comfortable with just being yourself and being the
Yeah.
goofball and bringing the boombox out and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. It's actually funny. When I think back to me as a younger player, I think in a lot of ways I was very intense. And I still have that intensity, but I've recognized, like with a lot of things, there's a balance. And so, yeah, when I was younger, I was just a lot of, you know, focused, being intense, and that's awesome. And I still have that element, but I'm able to obviously also bring in that excitement and energy. And yeah, I think in a lot of ways, I love what I do. And you're kind of just seeing the product of that. And I love the people I'm around, and bringing out the music, especially now because we're missing a bunch of the girls. Whatever we can do to bring that energy and bring that focus every day, I'm willing to do. So yeah, it's been fun to kind of be that goofball and play that role on this team as well. And no, there's so many funny people as well, so it's hard to compete. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I really love this group.
Well, what I will say is that anytime I hear the music at practice, I just assume you have control of that of the music. So to me, you are this team's DJ. So I will give you that honor at this point.
Wow, I really appreciate that. I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention Rachel McQuigg.
Mm.
She was the original Ox, and with recent injury and all that, I've kind of stepped in. It's big shoes to fill, but I think I'm doing all right because I've been taking requests from people. So it's definitely not just me.
Yeah, well, it's you're crushing it. So, what we're gonna do now is we are gonna get into the segment I used to call 20 questions, but it never ended up being 20 questions, so I stopped calling it that. So now it's just gonna be I ask the guest a bunch of random questions. So we're gonna get into that segment now. How does that sound?
I love it.
Okay, wonderful. So a lot of hockey related questions, but like they're just like just random questions. So the
Cool.
first one we're going to start with is, what is your your go-to pregame meal?
Ooh, if I had the choice, I love chicken and pasta with meat sauce. Maybe toss in some broccoli, a couple of veggies as well. But yeah, that's my go-to.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. I always do this, but I think it's important for me to share that I've also heard that the combination of pesto and Alfredo sauce is a good go-to for that. So I've never
Ooh.
tried it, but every time I say it, I always forget after I've said it. But every time I say it, my mouth starts watering. So it must be good.
Oh, wait, that's electric. Yeah, basil pesto. I have a nut allergy, so I
Oh,
typically stay away from pesto, but basil pesto, I'll definitely give it a try.
there you go, and you'll have to report back.
I will.
If you are the team's DJ, so you're team DJ for a game or for a practice or pregame, what are some of those songs that you're choosing to pump up the team?
Ooh, it really depends on the vibe of the day. You gotta read the room. You gotta see what if we need a big pump up or whether it's just some chill background music. Love Rihanna. I mean, every song's a hit, so can't go wrong with her. A lot of girls love country, so try to mix that in every once in a while. Thomas Rhett. Um, and just a lot of the classics, like Nelly Furtado, Jason Derulo, early 2000 hits. Yeah, I think it's kind of what we grew up on. So, hearing those songs like What You Say and all that, I mean, it's bound to get the girls fired up. So,
It would get me fired up as well.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that works for me. Especially the country. I'm from the country, so like
Hey,
you hit me with a country song, man. I'm
yeah,
all over that. So,
yeah.
do you have any pregame rituals or superstitions?
Ooh, I used to be superstitious. But like once get into college and the pro lifestyle, like things are so variable. So I try to loosen my grip on those. So yeah, before I think, I used to be, I have to eat this at a specific time, this and that. No, I try to kind of just, read where I'm at each day and recognize, whether I need to stretch a little bit more, if I need to go for a walk, if I have a ton of energy or whatever. Yeah, just kind of read my room of what I need to do, and that's kind of what I do before a game.
Fair, I love it.
Yeah.
What has been one of your favorite memories of your hockey career? And that can be either off ice or on ice.
Wow, it's a big question.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's
Um,
pretty profound. I'm not going to lie.
yeah, I think you know, there's all those championships and stuff, and those are awesome. But the things that I remember are just all the relationships I've made throughout the sport. All the friendships, all the memories that I've made with those people. Like I said before, I wouldn't be the person I am today without those people and um, those memories, and all the crazy situations we got ourselves in and got ourselves out of, and all the times off the ice, in the locker room and all that. Yeah, it just those all those memories are definitely at the top of my list.
Okay. So this next question, I'm going to ask it, and then I'm going to give you an answer that that I firmly believe in, which sounds a little strange to preface this question with, but I promise it'll make sense.
Yeah.
So, if you weren't playing hockey, what would you be doing? And my answer for you is, and I want to tell you truthfully, this is honestly what happened. The first time I had a chance to chat with you after a practice, you were just as awesome as you've been today, great with your answers, really succinct, really passionate. And I turned to everyone there and I said, she has a career in media if she wants it. So that's my answer for you. But what would your answer be if you weren't playing hockey? What would you be doing?
Wow, I appreciate that. That's a really good question. What I do know is that I would love to work with people. I love chatting with people. And so similar to, the hockey elements, a team environment, collaborative space. Um, what specifically, I'm not sure, but as of right now, love what I do. Being out on the ice with my teammates. Actually, funny enough that you say that. I mean, this is pretty low key, but I'll tell you here that me and Zoe Boyd are working on putting together a podcast right now. So, trying to see if we can maybe bring those media elements together a little bit and try that out. So,
Yes, I love to hear that. That's
yeah,
fantastic. And I cannot think of two better people to come together on a podcast. So I can't wait for that to be released. And you better believe I will click that follow button. When you want to, it's been a long day, you've had a practice, you've had a game, or, maybe you just want to relax, it's an off day, you just want to, what are some of those things that Emma Buckle does to just relax?
I love to go for walks, like fresh air, getting out in nature. Love to do that. Love to catch up with friends and family, that I don't get to necessarily see every day. So whether that's just chilling in my living room and calling somebody up, love to do that. And yeah, I also love the New York Times games. I love connections, the crossword. I do those every day. Wordle, all those. And so for me, those are a huge relaxer and I love to do.
How would you rate your performance on some of those New York Times games? Are you pretty good?
Well, if I'm going to be really honest right now, I put the autocorrect on the crossword because it's too frustrating otherwise. So that it feels really rewarding, but I kind of do cheat a little bit on that one. But pretty good at connections. I feel like I've gotten Wordle down pat. I've been doing it every day since it's pretty much started. I think it was my senior year of college. We do Wordle wars on the team, which is pretty fun. So we bring a lot of competition to that. So I think I've had to step up in a lot of ways when it comes to that game.
Okay, and lastly, you've kind of shared sort of an unexpected talent that I should have seen coming because you were in band. But so that was one of your hidden talents. But do you have another hidden talent that maybe people don't know much about?
I love to do pottery, actually. This is actually what I've been drinking out of. I made this cup.
It's impressive. Look at that. It hasn't broken apart. That's awesome.
Yeah, it hasn't broken yet. But yeah, no, that's something that I kind of tapped into about a year and a half ago now. Don't know if it's a hidden talent, but yeah, it's a hobby of mine that I really enjoy doing. So it's also a really relaxing thing whenever I can get into the studio. So yeah.
I would say based off of the fact that it turned out as well as it did, that would by default be considered a hidden talent. So it's really impressive. So that's fantastic. Emma, it is unfortunately that time in the show where we have to say goodbye.
Absolutely.
But I really want to say how much I've appreciated your time, how much this has meant to me, and just how great this has been. And this has been, in connecting with you a couple of times after practices, I knew that this conversation would go really well. It would be a lot of fun. We laughed. We had a great time. And I just, once again, can't thank you enough for joining me today, and for hanging out with me and taking some time out of your busy schedule. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me on. This was awesome.
Perfect. And there you have it, folks. For Emma Buckles, I'm Chris Sinclair, and this has been the Rinkside Rundown podcast. Cheers.